And so Barbara Kingsolver writes a true story about a group of nomads who live in the mountains of western Iran, the Lore tribe. And they were up in the mountains tending the fields. And there was one young girl, 9 or 10 years old, who was put in charge of the young children, and she started running back after a while, and she said, one of them is gone. She's frightened. It was only 1.5 years, this little boy. Seemed too small to walk far away, but she was tending the other kids, and he disappeared, and everyone became completely upset. You can imagine the parents. They couldn't even believe it. They went back. They looked under the hiding places in the yurt, everywhere where they lived, but he was gone. The whole village circled around them and became frightened. You can imagine when a child disappears, especially out in the wilds where they lived. And they searched everywhere. They searched every hut in the village, turned everything upside down, and then it got dark and cold. Hopeless, he's nowhere. Could he survive out? It was the mountains. And then a bear, someone said, and everyone said, no, not a bear. Don't say that. Are you mad? And early the next light, they were out again. Someone sent to the next village. They couldn't find him, and then they organized a party to climb the stony mountains and look in the caves. Another night passes. The mother weeps. The father's face becomes drawn. And they say, we have to go into the caves. In the name of heavens. 5 kilometers. How could a little boy go that far? He just took his first steps on Midsummer's Day. Tiny little feet. But there they go, a group of men, up through the acorn fields beneath the oaks, into the high mountains and the caves. No one speaks. Wild bears, pigs. And at the mouth of the 4th cave they enter, they hear a voice. Definitely a cry. A child. Cautiously they look in the darkness, and ominously they smell bear. The boy is in there crying, alive, and in the half-light in the cave, they walk in so slowly. They see the animal, not a dark hollow in the cave, but a dark, round-shaped, thick-furred, quiescent she-bear lying against the wall, and then they see the child with the bear curled around him, protecting him from these fierce intruders. And somehow, they get the child from the bear. She says, I don't know how they did it. I went back through the news sources and I tried to find out. But there he was, alive, unscarred, perfectly well after 3 days, well-fed, smelling of milk. The bear was nursing the child. Now, what does this mean? How is it possible that a huge, hungry bear would take a pitifully small, delicate human child to her breast rather than rip him into food? But she was a mammal, a mother. She was lactating, so she must have had young of her own somewhere, possibly died, so that she was driven by the pure chemistry of maternity to take this small, warm neonate to her belly and hold him there gently. You can read this story and say impossible, even though many witnesses have sworn it's true. Or you could read this story and think of how warm lives are drawn to one another in cold places, and think of the unconquerable force of a mother's love, the fact of the DNA code that we share with so many other beings. You could think of all that and say, of course, the bear nursed the baby. He was crying from hunger, and she had milk. Small wonder. But the miracle of Loristan is genuine, and if you venture onto the information highway with a good search engine and propose Kayan, Iran bear, you will find this tiny, remarkable note in the history of humanity and bears.